Okay, so at the time of finishing up the video from editing it, I didn't realize one thing. Qingque is still an RNG reliant character. I did play with her a little bit more, pause, and I found that she is RNG with her elemental skill. Whenever you do, even if you have Eidolon 6, she still has a little bit of RNG with the skill point management. So the first rotation with this team is going to be very scuffed. It can be very scuffed, but after the first rotation, your team should be a lot more, I would say, manageable. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there before we get into the video. It does help though with making sure that your seal does go first. Qingque can afford to not use a skill point. Again, if your Qingque doesn't get lucky with that elemental skill, right, getting the first J tile she needs in order to get her, like if she uses more than one elemental skill the first rotation, then it's just gonna be scuffed. But you just want to make sure that your Qingque at least has one skill point in the first rotation. If she doesn't get it, then it sucks. It is what it is. But after that point, you'll find the rotations to be a lot more smooth because you'll have more skill points to work with, especially if you're using Seal, as you probably should be with elemental skill and basic attack, elemental skill, basic attack, right? Weaving in those extra ways of getting your action forward. But anyways, I've been ranting for long enough. That's just me making sure that I get that out the way because I probably didn't address it in the video. Anyways, let's get into the video. Following the release of Fu Xuan, a lot of you probably have been seeing a lot of Mono Quantum, and we went over the composition in previous videos. I mean, so many videos to the point where some of you were letting me know in the comment section we've done a little too many. Now, one of the biggest things is Seal is a very skill point hungry character. I mean, she pretty much is the epitome of a DPS character. You have the character in your team comp burning up most of the skill points, and she does a very great job with that. But she also does a very great job at dealing damage because she is still the hardest hitting single target damage dealer in the game. Qingque, who has been very valuable for many people for a while, is still one of those characters you can use if you really don't have any other AoE damage dealer. I would go as far as say when she works really well in the sense of her RNG mechanic, which we'll get into later in the video, but you can use her alongside Seal if you have a couple things for your Qingque. Eidolon 6 is a game changer when it comes to using Qingque as a sub DPS character. We previously went over all the sub DPS characters in a previous video, going over exactly what makes them sub DPS characters, and one of the biggest things is being able to be either skill point neutral, skill point positive, or generate skill points in some way, shape, or form. And Qingque can generate a skill point with her enhanced basic attack. You do get a skill point whenever you use your elemental skill. This will matter a lot whenever you end up using your in your Mono Quantum team comps. Qingque can also get one of the tiles she needs in order to get her enhanced basic attack from the allies taking turns. Before you start the fight and you use your elemental skill Qingque, you can actually draw 2 J tiles, which will matter in just a second. If you already have those 2 J tiles, then you'll be able to generate more of those tiles whenever an ally takes their turn. And once you do take your turn on Qingque, you will already have your enhanced basic attack, means you'll already be able to use this character as a sub DPS in the comp with Seal, even if you don't have very many skill points to work with. Silverwolf is a character that makes the Mono Quantum composition work. If you don't have this character, of course, you can't make that comp do exactly what it needs to do, and that's be universally viable everywhere you go in the game. The truth is, Silverwolf, being a very skill point positive character, allows Seal and Qingque to exist in the team because she is basically a skill point generator. Fu Xuan, releasing today, has now proven herself to be a skill point positive character, much like Luocha. Now, Luocha does generate a skill point every single time he takes his turn, but the honest truth, as someone who does use Luocha, that may not always be the case, because there is times where a lot of my allies get CC'd, and I may have to use my elemental skill in the character. What I really like about the Mono Quantum team comp is that every character in the comp uses the same relic set. You only have to farm the Genius of Brilliant Stars, which is the quantum damage bonus set, and that allows you to save so much of your Trailblaze power because you don't have to farm 3 or 4 different sets because you have 4 different characters in your team. Qingque, using whatever I have on my account that I don't want to use on Seal, allows me to be more flexible with my relics. Silverwolf taking advantage of the same set, allowing me to use relics that may have more speed than the other relics I get in the set. My luck is absolutely dog tier. But anyways, I have a relic set already made for Fu Xuan if I do get her. But this means that I was able to take advantage of the relics I didn't use on any other character that may have gotten HP and effect resistance rolls. I'm not gonna lie, Hoyoverse really does this shit on purpose. Why is Fu Xuan holding the same position that QQ did? I know what you might be thinking. Well, Toshi, how can you use QQ and Seele in the same team party? Well, the truth is, a character like Fu Xuan has proven herself to be a very self-sufficient solo-sustained character. And well, if you have a character like that in your team comp, then you don't have to use a character like Lynx. So that frees up the slot in which you would use another defensive option in the team in order to bring about another damage dealer. So Fu Xuan is a character that makes this all work. So I know what you might be thinking also. Well, if that's the case, why can't I replace Fu Xuan with Lynx and have that be the solo sustaining defensive option in the team comp? Well, you can maybe make it work. I don't know, maybe depending on how good your Lynx is actually built. I personally have not done that myself because the truth is it may not really work well in harder contents. And you have to have a defensive option that is skill point positive. Lynx may be skill point positive, but when it comes to harder contents in the game, you probably want to use our elemental skill just to make sure your allies don't die. And Fu Xuan does a great job of making sure your characters don't die. The best thing about Fu Xuan is that you now get a crit rate increase whenever you use her elemental skill. She also turns your allies into pseudo tanks. On top of that, the damage mitigation and all of the buffs she provides with her elemental skill is dependent on her own turns. So depending on how fast your Seele is, how fast your Silverwolf is, doesn't matter, because you get the buffs regardless of how fast they are, because it's only dependent on the amount of turns that Fu Xuan herself takes. Now I know what you also might be thinking. Well, Toshi, if you have two damage dealers, why don't you just use a Harmony character in place of that damage dealer? And yeah, you could do that because Bronya and Seele is the best combination in the game. I'm sure you all know that at this point. But that means you can free up the slot you would use for your Bronya and allow her to exist in a team like this, which to me seems a lot more appealing than having her in a team where she isn't really necessarily needed. So there you have it. The team comp with Seele and QQ seems a little clunky at first. Also, if you take into consideration that after you use your buffs on your characters like Silverwolf and Fu Xuan, you'll be using your basic attack with those characters, meaning you'll be generating 2 skill points per cycle with them, meaning your Seele and QQ will have more skill points to work with. And QQ being able to generate a skill point with her enhanced basic attack, I don't think there will be situations where you run out of skill points. That is, unless you put it into auto and your Silverwolf decides to just screw you over and use the elemental skill anyways when she's already used it. That could happen. That's the video here. Hopefully I get Fu Xuan, and hopefully you got Fu Xuan already. If you don't go for the character, then hopefully you go for whatever you decide to go for. I think her 5-star Lycoon is really good on every preservation character has been revealed, so that's pretty nice, right? Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.